All right, we are finally at the very last part of the module, which is actually taking all your hard work and assigning it to your students. So, if you were over on this questions tab, you want to make sure that you're back in the details, the first page that we started with. You do want to double check that all of your details and your settings are all correct. Whatever, if you want the time limit or the multiple attempts, all that stuff we talked about earlier in the module, you just want to make sure that that is all okay. If you are going to have an access code, make sure that's set and ready to go. So on this very bottom part down here, you can assign the quiz basically however you want. You can assign it to specific students, specific classes, you can assign it to everybody. So the way that that works is when you click on this, let's say I want to assign this to my fifth hour class. So I start typing and my sections start to show up. So I can just click right there for Chemistry 05. And then this available from and until, that is going to show you, so fifth hour is, let's say I want to give this quiz on Friday. Usually I make it available for the majority of the class. So I'm going to click on December 1st and I'm going to make it available from 7:30 to 8:45, which is most of our beginning class, most of that fifth hour class. I typically only have it available when I want them to have access to it. You can certainly make it if you want them to have access to it for, let's say, a whole week. You can definitely have access then. You do have to put in a due date. Your due date does have to be before it is available. So if it's available until next Friday, your due date has to be sometime before then. So I'm going to make it due at the end of class. So I have a due date of December 1st at 8:45. It's available from 7:30 to 8:45. And like I said, it can be available until whenever you want. Now, on this particular quiz, we did have a 15-minute time limit. So that means that whenever they put in their access code, they are only going to have 15 minutes to take the quiz. But having it available for a longer amount of time just ensures that, if you're running behind or you thought you were going to take the quiz towards the beginning of class and then you had to push it towards the end, then you don't have to go in and change any of those due dates. You can have it, the available time and the due date, those can be the same. It's just the due date has to be the same or before this ending time. If you want to assign it to more classes, you could just hit add. As soon as you do this, let's say I want to assign it to my sixth hour, and then I can do the exact same thing. I can decide that this is going to be due. They're also going to have it next Friday, and theirs is going to be due at 11:55 because that's when that class ends. And I'm only going to have it available during sixth hour, so I'll have it available from about 10:45 until 11:55. So that's what we have with that. You can also certainly assign this to specific students. So all of your students are going to be listed here. Typically, when I assign to specific students, it's because of an absence. So if they are absent during this time and then they need to take the quiz, I can assign it to any of my specific students, or if students need to take a quiz early or whatever the case may be. You can also just hit everyone. Typically, that is useful for especially for the ungraded ones or practice quizzes that you're just having out there for your students to practice with, but not necessarily have for a grade, or you're not worried about cheating. If that's the case, then you can just assign it to everyone, have it available for a day or two, and then be done. Now, this access code, usually what I do is I will hit save and publish. That is going to be your very last step. As soon as you hit save and publish, it will show up in the students' um, quizzes tab, but depending on what you set as the due dates and the available times, they won't necessarily have access to that. Now, another thing you can do, which I think is helpful to prevent cheating, is you can change this access code in between. Even though it will only be available at certain times to each student, sometimes changing the access code just ensures that they don't log into the quiz any earlier than you want them to, and they don't, um, happen to have it open with their notes out or anything like that. So even if you hit save and publish and students have already taken it, you can go in and go back and change this access code. I don't recommend changing any of your other settings though, because once students have taken the quiz, you don't want to go around changing things because it might affect their overall grades. So once you are done with this, you can go ahead and hit save and publish, and then you are done. You have officially created a Canvas quiz that should be accessible to all of your students.